You know, at first glance, this video might seem confusing, but if you've actually taken a look at some of my other videos on Tetro Danganronpa, you'd know that I do not hide the fact that I am both an Ikeda and Kumada fan. I love these two so much, and I think their dynamic is really cool, so let's just get into talking about it with this short little video. I also want to preface, I'm not a shipping type of guy. You know, if the characters don't smooch or aren't implied to be smooching, then I'm not like, yeah, they're together or anything. So when I say they're dynamic or they're like a duo to me, you know, it's not that I'm shipping them, okay? I want to make that perfectly clear. Now, when talking about these two, there's a lot to talk about. First off, I'm not that deep into like the Tetro Danganronpa fandom, but even I can tell by just looking at the comment section that these two types of fans are divided. The Ikeda fans and the Kumada fans. You know, because when talking about these two, obviously there's just some events that we need to talk about. Now listen. This video is kind of like something you should put on the background because I'm going to be all over the place. There's like no structure. I'm so sorry about that. But you know, just have fun and listen, you know what I'm saying? To start this conversation off, let's talk about the voter game. Now, listen, after my first video for Tetro Danganronpa Blue, I stated, you know, even though after I correctly deduced who the killer was, because I'm just good with the sauce, I stated that when talking about the voter game, you can't 100% say it's Kumada's fault. I gave the argument that they didn't have to listen to her. You know, they could have just ignored her and everything would have been fine. I got a lot of like flack for that. You know, people were on my dick about that. But, you know, even after chapter 1 recontextualizing the voter game to where it wasn't even just Kumada, it was also Ono putting on pressure. So again, they didn't have to listen to Kumada, and then them listening to Kumada helped in them all almost dying anyway. I think the voter game isn't 100% Kumada's fault. You know, I think it's everybody's fault. No one had to listen to her. You know, just because she was really good at talking doesn't mean anything. Just because her points kind of made sense doesn't mean they had to listen to the points, you know what I'm saying? The thing about the voter game... Voter game? Voting game? Voter game? Oh, who cares? The thing about the voting game is that it affected both Ikeda and Kumada in a way that I just loved storytelling-wise. Let's talk about how it affected Kumada first. Firstly, a lot of people blamed her for it. I mean, wrongfully in my opinion, but a lot of people did blame her for what happened to Ikeda, and because of this, she had to face the fact that she is an asshole, you know? However, unlike most asshole characters, when people actually sat her down and you know, brought it up with her, you know, she had to deal with it, and she's getting better as a person because of it. Now, to be fair, originally when it was brought up to her, it wasn't brought up in the best way, which had her crash it out to Ikeda with the whole "you should kill yourself now, bitch." But you know, I'm actually glad to see her, you know, be a better person. But interestingly, the way it affected Ikeda was insane, in my opinion. I find it no, I don't want to say funny because that seems really mean, but I do find it interesting that do we have this like every single season? Is this what's gonna happen? Because in season 1 we had a character who, you know, disassociated, and now in season 2 we have Ikeda, a character who doesn't necessarily disassociate, but he does what they say, he goes small.
Want me to just read it out?
Yeah, please.
Involuntary age regression is a psychological phenomenon where an individual involuntarily reverts to a younger age mentally, emotionally, or behaviorally. This regression can occur spontaneously and without the person's conscious control, often in response to stress, trauma, or other emotional triggers.
Now, I want to highlight 3 different episodes because it's going to bring up a point I want to bring up later. That the reason why I like Ikeda and Kumada, more specifically when it comes within this chapter and future chapters of their relationship. Mainly episode 165, role reversal, episode 167, and episode 171. Sorry, I'm actively looking at it right now. Mainly because, right? I have a question. What's going to happen when and if Kumada finds out that Ikeda has age regression? The reason why I think this is interesting is because in 165, it is heavily implied that Ikeda is regressing. However, nobody was able to tell. Then in 167 and now 171, Ikeda, when he is regressing, is being exposed to more people, and now more people are noticing that he's acting a little off, mainly Den. Now, of course, Den can't really tell when Ikeda is and isn't regressing. I mean, that's blatantly shown to us, and I mean, poor Den, honestly. However, if more and more people are getting too exposed to an Ikeda that is regressing, more and more people are going to be wondering why he's all of a sudden like this one day, but this the next. And eventually that's gonna have to come out. And that's what I find interesting about some of these episodes. Because listen, when it does come out, because it's probably gonna come out eventually, what will come out? How will Kumada react? If they survive this chapter, which I highly doubt both of them will, but if they do, how is Kumada gonna have to react to the fact that Ikeda sometimes regresses? Is she going to take advantage of that? If Ikeda or Kumada is the bleeding, or just if Kumada has enough Ikeda shit, will she have to wait until he regresses and then, you know, does the deed, kills his ass? Or is it not going to happen? Is she going to have all of a sudden a soft side for Ikeda because of something he's going through? I don't believe that for sure. I'm not 100% on that, but we do know Kumada does have a soft side for some people. But also this brings up a whole other slew of issues. Like, for example, if Ikeda regresses and everybody knows, well, someone's going to take advantage of it. Especially since we don't know who the bleeding is yet. Now, I'm thinking... Actually, I still don't know. I still don't know. No one's acting weird. So it's really hard to tell who it is and isn't the bleeding. Honestly, I'm thinking Den. Look, I was right about Ogra, okay? So if Den's the bleeding, or one of the bleedings... You know, come to me. Say, hey, you're here to hear first on the Isaiah the Yonko channel. I have like The Shining or some shit, or for some reason I can predict this stuff. However, if Ikeda does regress in a very important moment, which storytelling dictates, I mean, this is gonna happen, right? He's gonna regress in an important moment, and it's gonna get out there, and someone's gonna take advantage. I'm guessing that Ikeda is gonna die while he's regressing, and I mean that sucks, obviously for him. But like, you know, it's interesting to see how Kumada will react to this. But also, I know it's implied that Ikeda doesn't know he does this, or at least he has some type of memory loss from it, because when Den was acting super nice to him, he clearly does not remember. So if Ikeda and Kumada, like, if she has a soft side and starts going easier on him when he's regressing, at least, I mean, he's not gonna remember half that shit, or maybe all of that shit if it does happen that way. I don't know. But my question to you, viewer, is what do you think will happen when and if Kumada finds out that Ikeda regresses? Write that in the comments below. And while you're at it, why don't you hit subscribe, like, and tell me if you want me to talk about any other duos in Tetro Danganronpa. There are some other duos that I do want to talk about, but hey, Ikeda and Kumada, my #1 duo out there. Even though they barely talk, I just like the dynamic. I think that they are cool. I hope they fight throughout their entire stay in this hellscape that they call a killing game. Anyway, also, happy Halloween. I know this episode is rushed. I did want to release this on Halloween, and then I fell asleep working on it, so sorry. Happy Halloween. Be careful what you consume, because, you know, candy, you know, some weird people out there might put a razor blade in that shit, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, have a nice day, and hey, make sure to check out my channel. Chances are, if you have any other interests besides Tetro Danganronpa, I've probably covered it. So, you know, just look for any other thing you might like. I do a lot of things. I'm a variety channel. I talk about a lot. And this episode was actually voted by you viewers. You know, I asked what you want to see next. Y'all said Tetro Danganronpa. So if you do subscribe, you'll look up for my posts, and I always ask, hey, what do you want to see next episode? So you put a vote in that shit too. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.
It's my happy day, I want to sing it all the day. My best friends are always with me. We sing, we dance, we laugh, we are happy every day. Have fun with us, let's say happy, happy.